I'm going to be honest with you, Austin. There's a lot of idiots in this world. And you have to work with idiots. And it's not fun.
No.
But there's one thing that we do know. And that's how to train your idiots.
Okay. Now, when you hear what Jose said, you might think that's a little odd or mean or, kind of extra. However, you'd be very surprised at the amount of times that you see and you encounter people who are really smart, are really good at what they do, but they're also fucking idiots. Now, when I say this, I mean, imagine that you're working with someone. They might be successful at what they're doing. However, there's certain things that they may lack that you would say, hey, if you would incorporate this, this, and this, your business would be so much better. But they just don't do it. Maybe it's because they never had to do it, or who knows. But you will be very surprised that when you're working with someone or people, how dumb that they can be when it comes to their practices and the way that they handle and conduct their business. So, Jose, we have had multiple experiences of this, but do you want to give them a real life example that we're encountering right now? Of course, not getting too much into it because y'all don't have to be all in our business, but a real life example of how someone who is pretty successful, especially for where they are still functioning like a kind of an idiot. You know what I'm saying?
So just because you're rich and successful doesn't mean that you're intelligent. Because if that was the case, then university professors would be millionaires. All of them. Because they're pretty well read. Now, I'm not calling everybody who's rich and successful an idiot, but I'm going to say that there's a high probability that you, our viewers, are smarter, harder working, and more intelligent than a lot of people who are well off or better off than you, including ourselves. And that's just the fact of the matter. Luck plays into that. Connections play into that. There's a lot of factors that you need that contribute to that level of success. That being said, an example of an idiot that we're dealing with right now, or I would say a group of idiots, are people who don't know how to answer a damn question. One of the most important things in life is the capacity to answer people's questions and to communicate effectively. Answering a question is within the subcategory of communicating effectively. This is true. However, I'm picking this specifically because every conversation you have follows a similar pattern. Question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And if you can't provide an answer or a potential answer or direct somebody in the direction that somebody can give you an answer, then you can't hold the conversation, especially in business. Because it's not like, hey, actually, I can't think of a single scenario where I don't ask a question. How much is this? When is it going to get here? What does this look like? Can you send me this? All of those are questions. So a perfect example I'll give you is, hey, and this is verbatim, what type of document do you need? I have a PDF. Well, in response, they say, that PDF is a little difficult to work with. Let's get a Word document. Okay, well, I also have an Adobe Illustrator document. So I have PDF, Adobe Illustrator. Can you use one of those, or do you need me to get you a Word? Adobe Illustrator is commonly used by people who do XYZ. If you are just as confused as I was and we were, you're not alone. The question that I asked was, can you use an Adobe Illustrator file, or do you need another format? And the response was, Adobe Illustrator is used commonly. The right response is, either Adobe Illustrator works, either a PDF works, or no, we still need a Word document. The Word document works best. The reason why I had to ask, can you use an Adobe Illustrator file, is because I had a PDF and an Adobe Illustrator file, and I don't know how long it will take me to ask my team and our broker for a Word document, because it goes through a whole entire supply chain. So your inability to effectively answer a question is a massive headache to whoever is on the asking side. Because oftentimes the answer to the question is what's going to save that person money, time, resources, energy, all the above. And when you fail everybody. You're not just failing yourself. How much of an idiot can you be to not answer the question?
And I want to make something clear here. So when we're talking about idiots, right, we're using that word and it might be a little, buzzwordy to people and like, oh my gosh, that's such a harsh word. So when we use this, I want you to think about not just from a perspective of an idiot is someone who is just dumb. I would also like to say an idiot in this case is someone who possibly just doesn't make life easy for you. They're hard to work with. And they often do this from a place of not of ignorance, maybe it's just from a place of, hey, I'm very busy and I have a lot of things going on and I can't organize things effectively and appropriately. So they may come off as being kind of not smart or idiotic. So in our cases, I would try to say that most people that we work with do have a form of intelligence when it comes to especially their specific niche that they're in. They're very well read. They're very knowledgeable about the area that they're in. However, when it comes to things outside of that area, they're difficult to work with. And to me, if you don't want to be seen as an idiot or looked at as an idiot when it comes to business and just working with people, I would say being direct in what you're doing and what you're saying helps with that a lot, because you don't really want to have any ambiguity. Why the fuck did I just trip over that word? But
some people say ambiguity as well.
But you don't want to have, any ambiguity when it comes to your business and what you have going on, because when you do, it leaves people like Jose with questions. And you never really want to leave somebody that you're working with questions, because that just makes things more difficult for you along the process. You, more often than not, would like to have any question that they may have answered at the beginning of the phase of you working with each other, as opposed to question here, question here, question here, question here, question here, question here. It just makes things a lot longer when it comes to the whole process. Because imagine if you got everything answered from the get-go, then everything from that point on should be within your timeline, your projected timeline. However, if you have questions that aren't answered at the beginning and you answer here, have a question here, question here, question here, that could push out the timeline for when things are expected to get done. So when you're not direct with your answers, even if you don't know an answer, be direct about it. Say, hey, look, I don't know this answer right now, but I will find out the answer for you. That is very, very valuable when it comes to doing good business, because even if you don't know an answer to something, I'm still going to view you as someone who is potentially good at business.
Well, you can find a solution.
Exactly. Because it's different than saying, I don't know, and I'm not going to even find an answer, or not saying anything at all. But if you say, hey, I don't know, but I'm going to go find it, to me, that is one of the keys of being a good business person, is saying, hey, look, I don't know this, but I'm going to get the answer. That's a very, very valuable skill. And a person that has that skill is someone that you would want to have around you, because even if they don't know, this shit is going to get done or is going to get answered eventually. It's not going to be left in the wind and left to chance, because if you leave something to chance, especially to someone who is not very business minded, the shit is going to just go to shit.
Idiots exist.
Really?
This is something that we're not attempting to avoid, nor are we attempting to remove this. This isn't a plague or something that we say needs to go away, because idiots do need to exist. Because without idiots, there's no geniuses. Without darkness, there's no light. So this is just the balance of life. If you're an idiot, I salute you. Just don't work with us. Now, an idiot is somebody who cannot think for themselves. If you cannot think for yourself, you only serve the position of a pawn. You fulfill your role, and it begins and ends there. If you can think for yourself, which I know all of you can, then you need to take a perspective of servitude. Why is that important? Very simple. If you put others first, then you will start thinking on how to help them. If Austin and I are going for a run, and I know that Austin is faster than me, I know that he has longer legs than me, and I know that his endurance is higher, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to start training in advance because I'm thinking, hey, I don't want to slow him down. I want to make sure that he is able to run at his full capacity, and I'm doing my utmost to maintain that speed and that pace, and even to a degree, push him. It's the same thing with business. If I'm a supplier for water bottles, I manufacture water bottles, and Austin comes to me asking for a specific type of water bottle. I should know from the resources all the way to through production to shipping, all the rates, all the hidden fees, all the expenses, all the brokers, and have essentially a tabulated sheet that says, hey, you want this water bottle in blue? It's going to cost you X amount of dollars for X amount of units. This is your shipping. This is what the resources are going to cost. And this is the fee that we're taking on top of that. Also, this is your tax. Any questions? Instead of, Austin says, I want a blue water bottle. Cool. I'll design it for you, Austin, but you have to figure everything else out. You have to figure out how to get it to where you want it to. You have to actually find the resources as well. You got to figure out the taxes. You got to figure out the loans. You got to get these things registered. And by the way, anytime you ask me a question, I just say, I don't know the answer to it, or I don't respond. You're selfish. You're selfish because you're not helping your customer. You're selfish because you're not helping your fellow human being. You're selfish because you're only looking out for yourself. And you, my friend, are worse than an idiot. At that point, I would like to use another word that I'm not going to use right now because not a lot of people would like it. But know that I would like to call you much worse than an idiot. And
you know what? I'd like to add this. You may not be an idiot. You may just be disorganized. Because after some of the things that we said, you might say, oh, damn, I might
be an idiot.
I might be an idiot. But I would like to say, and extend that olive branch and say, hey, you might not be an idiot. You might just be disorganized. So what do I mean by disorganized? So I don't know if your parents ever said this, or if your aunt and uncle, grandparents, whatever might have said this, but there is this phrase or this term called scatterbrained. Basically, your mind is all over the place, right? Now, when you're thinking about a million things at one point in time, it's hard for you to give a clear and concise answer on one specific thing because your mind might be over here and the actual answer to the person's question might be here. So being scatterbrained and being disorganized can lead to you looking like you're not that smart. And here's something to where we have literally experienced this recently, where putting together a business plan, right? We might have the right numbers on the paper. We might have the right math for the calculations in order to get that specific number that we put on the paper. But imagine that you have those numbers and you put them out of order on the fucking spreadsheet, or, it just doesn't make sense.
It's just numbers on the board.
Exactly, from when you're looking at it. If somebody's picking up that paper, it doesn't make sense how you get to that number because the numbers are disorganized on the paper. To them, they might say, this person is an idiot. No, you're not an idiot. You just didn't organize and structure things properly so it could, present itself, the document could present itself very well and fluidly. So when you're working with people in this industry and in business and in entrepreneurship, you might find someone who, again, is very good at what they do, but they're very disorganized. And when they are very disorganized, like this one person that we're working with, they're very scatterbrained. And because they have so much shit going on and they don't know how to manage it, and even if they try to delegate someone to, be able to, oversee this process, they're not that good at it themselves, or it's just too much to be thrown onto them. So it's kind of overloads them as well. It leads them producing lackluster quality and lackluster products and a lackluster experience between a business partner and a business partner. So if you can get organized, to me, that makes you come off as a lot smarter than what you may be. Because who knows? You may not even be just the A+ student in the class, but if you present your information well and concisely, you might come off as smarter than someone who comes up with a whole bunch of numbers, does a fucking whole bunch of math calculations in their head, and it looks like shit on a piece of paper, but they might come out with the wrong answer, but it doesn't make sense as to how they got there. And you all know when you're in class, especially in today's society, it's like, if you don't show how you got that work and it makes sense how you got that work, people are just going to be like, no, I don't believe how you got that answer. You cheated or some shit like that. So if you present your shit in an organized fashion, again, you can come off a lot smarter than what you may be actually, and you won't come off as an idiot.
Now I want to make something very clear. You need to have some grace with idiots. It's your responsibility to compensate for other people's idiocy.
Which is why we said how to train your idiots. It's your responsibility.
Because if you know that somebody's going to be an idiot, then why are you surprised by their actions? That's actually a quote roughly from Marcus Aurelius. He says, you already knew that stupid people are going to make stupid decisions and that things that can go wrong will go wrong. So why are you surprised? Why are you surprised? When I say have some grace, I mean, understand that sometimes idiots can't help themselves. They're just idiots. So it's your responsibility to take that with a grain of salt and start by putting in processes and setting expectations that are both advantageous to them and to yourself. You can't be unfair and expect somebody to entirely change. You can't be unfair and expect somebody to change at all. But if what you do is you provide a system that gives them guide rails that says, hey, these are the things I need by this date. This is how I need the questions answered, blah, 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 blah. If you can't answer them, then let's find somebody who can answer them. And you compensate for the idiocy in terms of time. Because most of the time, the reason why idiots are so frustrating is because they are the ones who are holding back your processes, your time. If you have very time-sensitive things like a product launch date and you're working with idiots, I suggest you push that product launch date way, way back. Because trying to meet deadlines and working with idiots don't add unnecessary stress. If you're working with idiots, give them that cushion so you can reduce the tension between the both of you and you do things right. Because if you rush an idiot, it's not going to go well. So at least get the most out of the idiot that you can.
And I'd argue,
What a statement.
I'd argue, if you don't recognize that this person could be or comes off as an idiot, and you allow this process and you allow their work to continue without your interjection in anything, and you just let the shit happen, and you don't mitigate for this problem or mitigate for their working habits and whatnot, to me, you're an idiot yourself. Because if you see something wrong, and you don't find a solution how to fix the shit, you're just letting a dumpster fire transpire. You're looking at it, you're seeing it, and saying, oh, look, it's a dumpster fire. And you're watching it about to happen, and then it fucking explodes. Like, you're literally watching that shit happen as opposed to saying, hey, what can I do to make sure that I, again, like Jose said, put the bumpers on for somebody, you know, make sure that they have some wiggle room to fuck up, because I know that they're going to fuck up, and I can plan for that fuck up and still be okay. And if you don't fix that from your side yourself, or see that that's about to happen and do something about it, then in my opinion, you're an idiot, not that person, because you have to be proactive with solving and mitigating for these problems.
Don't be an idiot.
Don't be an idiot.
The AM Club Podcast.
Signing out.
Mic check. The AM Club Podcast.